Last summer, something incredible happened to me, something I still can't get out of my head. But first, let me tell you a bit about myself. I am 23, blonde, 173 centimeters tall, athletic, and I live in Moscow. I've always taken care of myself, tennis, gym, proper diet, so I'm proud of how I look. Maybe it sounds vain, but I've always been considered beautiful. Back in school and at university, I never lacked attention from men. These days, I live a comfortable life thanks to my husband. He's 34, a successful businessman who built everything from scratch. We met 3 years ago, when I was still a student and working as a model. My agency was involved in one of his company's events, and that's where we met. He later told me I stood out among all the girls, that I seemed the most striking. He courted me beautifully, expensive gifts, weekend trips abroad, fancy dinners. Within a year, we got married. It seemed perfect. He's smart, reliable, and provides a stable life. But there was one problem. I wasn't really attracted to him physically. He's not bad looking, just not my type. Short, thin, quiet. I convinced myself that looks don't matter, that stability and care are more important. For a while, that worked. But over time, something inside me began to fade. He was constantly away on business trips, and the spark was gone. I started missing excitement, passion, the feeling of being truly desired. Then came that summer day in 2019, the day everything changed. My husband was away on another trip. I spent the evening at a friend's place. We talked, watched a series, had a bit of wine. By the time I was heading home, it was late. So I ordered a taxi instead of calling my husband's driver. I remember I was dressed up that day. Short shorts, red heels, a top that showed my figure. Not because I wanted attention, but because I liked feeling confident and feminine. When the car arrived, something made me sit in the front seat instead of the back. The driver was a young man, maybe 25, with an easy smile and strong arms. He looked at me, said hello, and we started chatting. There was a certain energy between us. That spark you can't plan or explain. It felt wrong, but also strangely exciting. He was charming, bold, and honest in his compliments. I laughed, teased him a bit, but deep down I knew there was a thin line I was dangerously close to crossing. When we reached my house, we kept talking. The moment lingered. That silent tension you could almost touch. He gently brushed his hand against mine, and for a few seconds, time stopped. My mind screamed no, but my heart whispered yes. I stepped out of the car, smiled, and thanked him. He smiled back, and that smile stayed in my head for weeks. Nothing happened that night, but it made me realize how empty my marriage had become. I missed connection, warmth, something real. That brief encounter with a stranger reminded me of who I once was, a woman who wanted to live, to feel, to love. Later, the story shifts to another person, a young man named Michel. 25 years old, working a job he hates. He's burdened with debt, trapped in routine, dreaming of something more. Once, he loved a woman who was married to his friend, the woman who named her son after him. For years, he hid his feelings, until one day he couldn't anymore. He confessed, not to destroy her marriage, but just to free himself from silence. She didn't know how to respond, and they grew distant. Months later, she suddenly texted him. Hi, can I ask you something? We need to talk. But no one can know, especially my husband. He understood immediately what that might mean. And yet, he went to see her, not for revenge or passion, but because some stories never truly end. Michel was 25. He didn't own an apartment. His small rented room smelled of dust and old dreams. Every morning, he woke up with the same thought. I can't live like this forever. He worked at a warehouse, moving boxes and counting hours until the next payday. The job drained him. It was never what he wanted, but it paid the bills. Life hadn't been kind, though Michel rarely complained. He had tried many things since he was 16. Construction, delivery, security, even a bit of electrical work. He once studied to become an electrician, but never picked up his diploma. The debt to the college still hung over him like an unfinished chapter. Despite all that, Michel had always been the kind of man who felt deeply. And once, he had loved a woman he could never have, Julia, his best friend's wife. They had known each other for years. He was the godfather of her child. The little boy even bore his name. Michel had buried his feelings for 3 long years, pretending everything was fine. One night, unable to keep it inside any longer, he confessed. He didn't ask her to leave her husband or promise anything impossible. He just needed to speak the truth. Julia didn't answer. Her silence said everything, and after that, they barely spoke. Months passed. Michel tried to move on, but every familiar street, every scent of perfume, brought her back into his mind. Then, one evening, as he was sitting at his second job, guarding an abandoned construction site, his phone buzzed. It was her. "Hi, can I ask you something?" His heart skipped a beat. "Of course," he typed back. "We need to talk," she wrote. "But no one can know, especially my husband." He stared at the screen, the glow of the message lighting up his tired face. He knew what this might mean, yet he also knew he couldn't ignore her. He told his friends he had to step out for a while, made up a story about seeing another girl, and drove off into the quiet streets of the city. The night was humid, the air heavy with the scent of rain. When he arrived, Julia was waiting near her work, a small coffee stand glowing softly under a street lamp. She looked tired, older somehow, but still heartbreakingly beautiful. "Michel," she said softly, "thank you for coming." He wanted to sound calm, but his voice betrayed him. "What is it you want from me, Julia? You know how I feel, do you? Do you feel anything for me?" Her eyes filled with conflict. "No, I didn't mean to hurt you," she whispered. "I just needed to talk to someone who understands me." And just like that, the fragile distance between them returned, love that could never exist, yet refused to die completely. The city was almost asleep when Julia closed the door of her small coffee stand. The streetlight above flickered softly, casting a golden glow on the wet pavement. Michel leaned against his car a few meters away, pretending to scroll through his phone, but in truth, he was watching her. The way she tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear, the way her shoulders trembled slightly from the night chill. She walked up to him, her heels clicking softly on the pavement. "You really came," she said quietly. "I said I would," he replied, trying to sound casual. But his voice was low, heavy with things unsaid. For a moment, they just stood there. The air between them was charged, not with passion, but with everything they had tried to suppress for years: guilt, tenderness, and something that felt dangerously close to love. Julia looked down at her hands. "I didn't know who else to call," she whispered. "Lately, everything feels wrong. I don't even recognize myself anymore. My husband is distant. I'm always pretending to be happy. And I needed to see someone real." Michel took a slow breath. "I've always been here," he said, "even when I shouldn't have been." That made her smile, a sad, tired smile that seemed to carry years of unspoken pain. She looked up at him, and for a second, their eyes locked. The whole world fell away. They didn't touch. They didn't need to. The silence between them said everything. The love that couldn't be spoken. The memories that would never happen. And the quiet understanding that sometimes, Two people can be perfect for each other, but born into the wrong lives. Finally, Julia stepped back. I should go, she said softly. If anyone sees us, he nodded. I know. But as she turned to leave, he caught her wrist, not to stop her, but just to feel that she was real. Julia, he said, his voice breaking slightly. Promise me something. She looked at him, confused. What? Promise me that when you're tired of pretending, you'll choose yourself, even if it's not me. For a moment, she couldn't speak. Then she whispered, You always say the things I'm too afraid to admit. And then she was gone, walking down the quiet street, her figure fading into the night. Michelle stood there for a long time, listening to the echo of her footsteps. That night, he didn't feel victorious or heartbroken. He just felt human, painfully, beautifully human.